As we live in a turbulent world at the moment, this meditation is for peace. Close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and slowly exhale. Feel your body soften and settle. Allow the earth to hold you. With each breath, invite calm into your body. Inhale and exhale. Say or think silently, may I be at peace, may my heart be calm, may my thoughts be clear, may I live with compassion and courage. And now visualize a soft light in your heart, warm, steady and peaceful. Let it grow with each breath. Filling your entire being, and sit with this inner peace. Let it flow into every part of you. Now, imagine this light expanding beyond you to the people you love, then to those you feel natural about, and even those that you struggle with, and eventually extend across your community, your country, and the whole earth. Breathe in. Breathe out. And silently repeat, may all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings live in harmony. Breathe in. And breathe out. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings live in harmony. Picture now the whole earth being embraced of peace and only peace. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings live in harmony. Breathe in. And breathe out. Now bring your attention back to your heart. Feel the connections between your inner peace and the peace of the world. Breathe in. Breathe out. And whisper or think, peace begins with me. I carry peace into the world with every breath, every word, and every action. Peace begins with me. I carry peace into the world with every breath, every word, and every action. Breathe in and breathe out. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings live in harmony. Breathe in and breathe out. You can also imagine that you breathe in peace and breathe out negativity. So breathe in peace and breathe out. Peace begins with me. I carry peace into the world with every breath, every word, and every action. And may all beings be safe. May all beings be at peace. And may all beings live in harmony. Now, bring your attention back to your body and return to the present moment. Start by wiggling your fingers and toes, being more present at this moment. And when you feel ready, open your eyes and look around you and take this feeling that you have right now with you during the day and make this your daily practice if you wish, because it will help you to feel calm and at peace with yourself, and that will also be a reflection of others. So if you work with your inner peace and all people do the same, there will be no war and there will only be peace in this world. So I hope you enjoy this meditation, and please come back at any time to make you feel at ease, and I will be here for you to help you and guide you to make your day a peaceful one and hopefully a world at peace. So thank you, and until next time, and take care.
Welcome to Stress and Purpose in Life podcast. Thank you also, Samantha Jane, for being here. Great to have you on this show. We're going to be inspired by you today about your journey from transformation, from being paralyzed, right? Almost.
Yeah.
You're going to tell a story about that, and also how you made get to be a specialist in habits of happiness, right?
Yeah.
You, as you said, literally got paralyzed by stress, right? And transform your life completely after experiences, the experience that you had, right? And you dedicate your life to helping others to break free from limiting patterns and building habits to foster lasting joy.
Yeah.
So your insights is really valuable for us, I think, on this podcast. It's really good because happiness and stress goes hand in hand, right? So warm welcome to you, Samantha.
Hi, thank you. On the podcast, I'm excited to be here and share my journey. My name's Sam, and I am the founder of the Habits of Happiness Limited, and I'm also a wellbeing coach and a mentor. And my journey began when I was faced with burnout. Well, I was actually running another business, and I was raising a young family, and after experiencing stress, induced paralysation, that's what we called it. That is where I kind of turned my life around, and I decided to heal myself, as I would say, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And in the process of doing that, that's how I actually developed the habits of happiness. And today, it's my passion and purpose. And I help other people build these positive mental habits. I call them the daily hygiene habits for your mental and emotional health. So, yes.
Yeah. Perfect. And that, I think you told you had experienced a burnout, right? And you almost hit rock bottom then, and then most people reflect on your life there, and then you realize, okay, now I'm the bottom, I can only go up. And then it's great that you made your passion your purpose, right? So if we go back to the warning signs that led you to this experience, and also where were you, and what did you feel in that moment when you realized that it was something that you had to do about it, right?
Yeah.
Bottom or wherever you were in your journey. So can you just explain that?
So I didn't really realise that I was having any stress in my life. It kind of became normal. And so I look back now, because hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I had lots and lots of subtle signs of not being able to sleep, digestive problems, pain, that I kind of just became that busy with life, having a young family and a successful business. So when I did wake up that morning, it was a complete and utter shock that my whole left side of my body was completely paralysed. Do you know, like when I'm trying to move my arm and my leg, it was like an out of body experience, really, because I was willing it to move and it just would not move at all. And it was strange because I was in the house with my then young boys, and they were only 6 and I think 9 or something. I knew I had to kind of be strong for them, but in the same time, I was absolutely distraught, like with what was happening to me. And I didn't really know what it was, because I didn't know if it was a stroke that I'd had or anything like that. So, yeah, it was complete fear of being completely out of control.
Yeah.
How I would feel, the experience of actually having it, having that paralysation, and not really having any idea of what was happening to me.
And during what period of time was it? Was it like how that feeling that you had? did it last for long? Or I mean, getting paralyzed is quite physically something that the body says, okay, stop now. Now you have really gone over the limit. And how long was that paralyzation?
Oh, so what happened after that was I ended up having to get my sons up to bring myself together, shake myself together, and ask, because my husband wasn't in the house, I was the only adult in. But luckily, my neighbour, my sons were really good friends with her son, and so he went across and got her. She phoned an ambulance, and then I was taken to hospital, and they did, I don't know, I felt like 1,000 tests that were there, brain scans, CT scans, bloods, everything that was there. And I was in the emergency and what we call the emergency ward for about 3 days, and then they put me into neurology for 3 weeks to check and see, because it was slowly coming back, but it was like as if it was completely dead. Like my arm was like, I could move it, but only if I moved it itself. And it started to come back, it was like tingling and slowly, but it was as if I had to will it to move. So when they took me to the doctor, to go back, when they took me to the A&E, they could tell straight away that it wasn't a stroke. There was a small abnormality in my brain, but they didn't think that was associated with it at all at the time. I think they were checking more for any other neurological or disease, or there's lots of different things now I know that can cause paralyzation.
But it must be quite scary period in your life if you have 2 kids to take care of and you don't know what's going on, right? So was it a specific? How did you feel around your life at that point? What was did you have some identity crisis or control crisis? I mean, what did you feel like? Well, where I'm going now in my life, right? You had a successful career and you had your life and your family and everything around. What were your emotions then? I know I heard fear, but how did you feel about your life at that point?
So at the time, prior to the paralyzation, I think I was existing. I didn't. Now this was 15 years ago, so stress wasn't as well talked about. It was something that was the norm. So the fact that you were busy all the time, your brain was busy, the fact that you just had to get on with things was the norm. The fact that I was working every weekend because I was a makeup artist and I had a training school and I did bespoke weddings all over Scotland and small films, etc. And I had a team. I did that at the weekend, and then I had a training school during the week, and then I did a mum job. So Monday to Friday, it was getting the kids up, going to all their activities, taking them there, and then at the weekend, trying to fit in when I finished the wedding at 2:00 to get fit in family time. Now, when I say it out loud, it's no wonder I was stressed.
We talked about reflection on this podcast as well. I think reflection, where it's time for reflection and
honestly, at the time, and I speak to so many other people who are going through stress. I mean, I resonate more with women because I am a woman, and it's kind of those juggling and that feeling of guilt as well around working, being a mum, being a wife, and having to do all of that. And then also what contributes to, I was really being part of someone's most special day as well, and organising like maybe 5 weddings at a time, coordinating them. I was maybe doing 2 and, coordinating another 5 of somebody's most important days. So on reflection, I think my nervous system, and I know a lot about it now, I had no clue what my nervous system was showing me. I was so disconnected from my body. Like, it was a pain to like if I couldn't work. So if I had like pain in my body, or if I had pain in my stomach, you know, like irritable bowel, if I couldn't sleep, all of that was just a pain to me. Like it was just, I didn't have time for it. I didn't have time for it.
Many people resonate with that, you know, that feeling, and then you go on and keep on going, then to the point that you just break yourself. Because many people have it in your head. Did you also have everything in your head? The body is connected to the head, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100.
So how did you what is your mental habits today and exercises to stay on top of yourself and feel relaxed and you know?
Yeah. So my journey took me from being in the hospital, and then eventually getting, it's called psychosomatic, and that is basically stress. That is the body's way of physically showing you that something's wrong, and they diagnosed me with that, or they had said, along with a few other things like fibromyalgia and different things like that. And so I didn't have any tools at that point. I didn't really know anything, so they gave me kind of what they call nerve drugs and different things. The only way that I knew how to work was to push through. So I got my physical health back, but then it would be like a roller coaster, you know. So I would get it back, and then I would crash because I didn't know where the root cause was coming from. You know, I didn't really. I was trying to put a plaster on something, and the only way that I knew how to do that was to push through. Being exhausted, and I didn't realize that my mental health was contributing, because I didn't have this awareness or understanding of the mind-body connection, and how what we think and what we say to ourselves has a physiological effect on your body. And so I was going in cycles and cycles and cycles of.
But did you have negative thoughts? Is that
all the time? I was so horrible to myself. So
having that self-love and saying something nice to yourself, as you would say to the best friend, that is something that we have to remind ourselves every day about, right? Because you're the most important person in your life. So
it's one of the things that's actually saved me now. But back then, I was I wouldn't even speak to my worst enemy the way that I spoke to myself then. I thought that I was no good. I thought that I should. The word "should" was just constantly in there. I felt like a failure, because eventually I had to give up everything, because with them saying it was stress, I thought, right, okay, I'll take the biggest stress, which I thought was my work. So I'll take that out of the equation. But actually, that was my passion and my purpose. I loved being able to help others, even though it was weddings, but just being part and being a trainer, it was part of my identity. So I didn't realize that actually that spiraled me down to the point on actually feeling as if I was so worthless. So I was in pain physically, mentally, emotionally. I remember feeling that point where actually, what is the point of me even being here? You know, what is the point? I don't contribute. And the words and the language that I was saying to myself around just not even contributing. I felt like I wasn't a wife, I wasn't a mother, I definitely wasn't contributing to society. And these cycles were going further and further, and not realizing that was actually creating more pain physically, mentally, because we have this holistic triad with ourselves, our mind, our body, create our well-being. You know, so that's why I've created the Habits of Happiness.
So then I think in your case, many people believe. I mean, you have your family, you have your work. Perhaps many people train a lot also, and then you get exhausted mentally and also physically, and then you think, oh, those are the causes.
Yeah.
Of me getting stressed out. But you're telling something else here, right? We're talking about the feelings and emotions that you give yourself about the situations you are in, right?
Yeah.
And that is the cause of stress.
That's it. That's the other thing is stress comes in different ways. So we've got external stressors, but we've got internal stressors. And lots of us build up this tolerance, internal stressors and external, and they don't build the resilience. So the difference in resilience is that we allow the emotions to go through us. Whereas we build up a tolerance towards it, then that means that eventually it's like, nearly, if you're getting kind of all these, well, the analogies like these pillows on top of you, like, so one little thing is okay, and then you get another one until you're absolutely smothered. And that's the stress that we can have within ourselves and outside. And then there's a breaking point for us. And for me, it was the first kind of knowing was a combination. It was like, I think the analogy I'd said, like 1,000 paper cuts. So you can have one paper cut and then it's okay. You can get plaster on it. But if every time you don't go to the root and you don't figure out how you can manage that or clear it out, it eventually becomes septic and poison. And I think that I kept on ignoring the small signs, and I didn't have the tools. I just didn't. So, like, I didn't have the tools to be able to manage the stress. I managed them with avoidance. I managed them with dissociation. I didn't know any other way because I hadn't been brought up that way. But obviously, I've learnt them now, and it was really strange because the reason that I kind of learnt them, it was I had that point, the lowest point was probably when I really thought, what's the point? And I was so close of taking my own life. And then my boys came in and gave me a cuddle. And I remember thinking to myself, I wasn't put on this earth. I don't think anybody was put on this earth to live like, there must be another way. There must be another, like, there has to be, to
that's
live
your
like
wake-up call, right? At that point, when the kids saw you there and you were having suicidal thoughts. I mean, is that a wake-up call for you? And that was like, okay, now I have to choose.
Yeah, because I just thought, I can't keep doing this because I'd got myself physically well and I'd actually done Ben Nevis, but then my mental health was still going in these cycles and I wasn't working, I still couldn't do things and it felt like all these cycles. But then eventually, it was my boys and just, I don't know, this small voice, tiny wee voice that I'd always, I'd kind of heard but ignored around, there has to be something more than that. And then my determination, sometimes that's what I think I directed it in the wrong way.
Most people can relate to that, I think. You put energy on the wrong stuff and then you think, what is important? What makes me feel good?
Yes.
Is this life making me feel good? No, it's not. I'm really not feeling good in this situation, right? Many people feel like that, but then they anyway go on living that way.
Yeah.
I know. So you get a turning point somewhere in your life. But
so that was really it. And it was quite strange because it was, and I do say it's spiritual and I am very spiritual now, but I wasn't then. But it was like I'd asked for help, and I am spiritual or religious or anything back then. I'm very spiritual now and I'm very much around bridging this gap between Eastern and Western philosophy and science and spirituality. But back then, I think I was just desperate. And so I'd remember asking for help. Like, I just can't be like this. I can't live like this anymore. And then it was like as if, I don't know, I know it's internet and it didn't have the same algorithm as it does now. But suddenly then I got introduced to different books around the mind-body connection, around how the mind can heal the body from David Hamilton. Also, there was a book, now it can be controversial because some people think it's a load of rubbish, but it was called The Secret. And some people think it's a load of rubbish, but for me, the power it gave me was that I was creating my own thoughts And so that meant I could take control over it. So because if I was creating my own reality, then that meant that actually I could actually shift and change the way that I feel. Now I know the science behind this.
Yeah.
Like the secret was a bit woo, but now I know actually that what we think we actually do create, because we have this perception of life. Everybody sees it, because if not, we would all be seeing reality in the same way. We'll experience different things. But also what happens is when we experience reality, we also experience that in our physiology. So hormonally, we have it. Chemically, we have it within our autonomic nervous system. So our nervous system can either go into overdrive or it can be relaxed. So when we are happy, it does something different to some. When we're absolutely stressed or when we're angry, they all have these different effects on not only how we see the world, how we view it, but actually the physiology within our system and how it can actually cause us to have this paralyzation, how it can cause us to have long-term disease. You know, like there's so much research now, especially on heart attacks, how stress can cause that. And so the stressor itself is very unique to individuals. You know, one thing that causes stress to one person can be nothing to someone else. So it's about you becoming the expert of you. That's what I needed to be. And I needed to know what my triggers were and how I could. And one of the things I found is the science of happiness and heart maths, and the fact that we are really lucky that emotions, and when we have emotions like happiness, gratitude, joy, all of these emotions create a different physiology, and it actually reduces stress within us, within the body. So that was the intro into my.
I have a question about that, because I mean everybody knows the secret now, and many people use it, you know, in their life, you know. But it has also to do with the gratitude, right? And if you what you're telling me now is happiness in different kind of positive words, right? And is it not true that they give you more happiness also if you connect with the happiness feelings and happiness, and then you get more of that, right?
Yeah. So happiness is.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
So no. Happiness is really subjective. Do you know, like it's really quite kind of elusive, isn't it? We say happiness, but and one person's happiness is another person's nightmare. So like happiness is this overarching kind of description that I say about emotions, and it is positive emotions that we're looking for. Like in positive psychology, there's a lot of evidence now about there's certain things in our life that we can do that can make us happier. You know, before you'd be like, the brain was fixed and you would be fixed and you were just born like that. But now they know that actually at least 40% of what activities, how we are and what we live can contribute to us being happier. So that's much more in our control than just our circumstances or our DNA. You know, like we have control over that. And so there's certain things that we can do that contribute to us actually training ourselves to become happier. So, because what I realized as well through, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist in NLP, and we work on the subconscious, and we learn lots and lots around habits. And I kind of dived in hugely about habits. And what I kind of realized in a general way, we're all made up of thousands of habits a day, you know, like, and that's thought habits as well as emotional habits. We automatically, I'll say it like, mine was I was stupid all the time, you know. And so if you think about your thought has this feeling, emotion, and it has this connection, this triad to you. So if we have been automatically saying that I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm angry, it automatically has this physiological effect, this emotional effect, and it has this habit and rewiring in your system. But the good news if you have gratitude, and there's lots of different things, but if you have even a simple gratitude, there's research saying that even for doing it for 7 days to 21 days, it can have a huge impact on the way that we look at the world and the way that we perceive ourselves has. And when we do that, that has a huge effect on our physiology as well within it. It reduces the stress within them.
And if you would say, because I know people say, okay, it has also to do with the questions you ask yourself, right? And then you get proof of it. Is that also one of the daily techniques that we can take to the viewers? But have you some other kind of tips that you would like to, some powerful technique that you can use every day that anybody can influence, depending on their situation? Many people live different lives, of course, and have different kind of definition of what is happiness, right?
Yeah.
But do you have some universal powerful technique that you can share with the viewers?
So for me, what I realise is when we're in stress, or we have a very low ability to take on a lot of new habits, and especially in this day and age. So the way that I created it was I compounded my favourite things that were backed in science into a 7-minute routine. And even if you only do one of them, this is like where I've developed this daily hygiene habit for your mental and emotional health. Because really, a lot of the time we have these sticky plasters for things. So I work for the Anxiety UK charity, registered hypnotherapist. And so for a lot of the things that we do for anxiety can be in that moment, which is great. But actually for long-term change, we need to do something on a daily basis. And so the things that I developed, which is start your day in a positive way, is just these 7 morning routines. And the reason I say a morning, you can do it any time, and there can be tools at any time. But the reason I say morning is because that's when we're starting our day. And so we really want to then set that tone, ground ourselves into that. And so it takes you throughout the day. You can use them and bring them back as anchors, but really starting your day, you decide who's in charge rather than the automatic programs that have been perhaps running for the last, well, for me, it was like 30 odd years before, when I hit that breaking point. And the simple thing is not rocket science, and once you learn it, you've got it for life, is utilize your breath. So one of the steps is to use what we call a method of heart math. So it's coherence breathing, and it's breathing in for 5 and breathing out for 5. And then you can add in gratitude with that. And there's so much research on when we have this coherence between our heart and our head, it helps to regulate our nervous system, that reduces stress automatically, which then lowers like cortisol, and it increases more positive hormones within ourselves, like oxytocin. And if we're cuddling someone, we can do that. But these are all the ones that help us to reduce the inflammation and the stressors in our lives. So even just the breath itself can help us to do that, along with coherence. But the 7 steps that I teach in the 7-minute morning routine.
7 minutes is not much, no. Everybody
it's
can.
No, and that's why I created it. I created it because I couldn't really do anything else apart from these kind of minutes. So you take a minute and doing one on each, and each time you do it, you're embedding each one. So I can run them through you very quickly.
Absolutely. Please share with the viewers.
Yeah.
And me.
So the first one is to set your intention, and we always start with the heart breath. So the heart breath is a heart math, which is just breathing in for 5, breathing out for 5, and imagining that you're breathing in through your heart, because as I said, this is you connecting in, and actually it connects in with the vagus nerve, which is helping you to relax your nervous system just by this coherence. And then you ask your intention, and your intention isn't like a goal, it's your intention and how do you want to show up today? How do you want to show up? What is it, the energy you want to show? And it can come back to an anchor. So for me, for about 4 years, it was like a sense of calm because I didn't have that. My nervous system was just always on the go, and the anxiety levels I'd got, and my brain was really fast. So my intention is to feel calm. So I drop in and I breathe just a couple of times to feel that calm. And then it's setting your intent, affirming that to yourself. So reminding the language that you want to say to yourself. What is it that I need to say to remind myself today that how I want to show up, how do I want to be? Then it's gratitude, then it's your breath, and then it's setting a goal, and a goal in a way that's self-care for yourself and visualizing yourself, and then it's moving your body. So it's not a lot, but research has shown that if you do these simple things, even if you just done gratitude, or even if you just did the reframing of the way that you changed your thoughts, they've all been shown that they can help to rewire yourself, your brain, into a more positive way of thinking. And that helps to reduce stress and also to help us to be happier, as they say.
Yeah, but stress and happiness goes hand in hand, right? So I think so also because, but it has also to do with self-awareness and how you live your life and reflecting on that, and if you have those steps to do every morning, then you perhaps get that time to be more self-aware also.
Yeah.
And
yes.
that also will help in the process to getting happier, I think, right? It should be like that, and having the habits on a daily basis.
It is that.
Right?
Yeah, it is that, and I think people underestimate like how challenging it is to take on new habits. So I think starting off with these simple things in your life, because I know when I was starting off, I found it very, very challenging to even change one aspect. As I've grown and I'm now a coach, and I'm so self-aware, and I can, I'm always checking in with myself and journaling. Like who I work with drugs and alcohol, I work with women, I work with all different people, children. They don't always have that. And if people are in high stress, the simplest thing can sometimes overwhelm them. So even just taking one thing out of that and doing it on a daily basis can really help.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's as you say, many studies have shown that. And also you reflect, you talk about positive psychology, and it has to do with the whole person and both external and internal environment. But if you can control your internal sphere, then of course it will help you also with the external environment, all the external challenges or life that you have, and that's really great. So thank you for sharing that. If we want to round it up here a little bit, I would like to ask you, can you just perhaps say where people can get in contact with you if they want to learn more about this 7 habits of happiness,
yes.
Right?
It is,
and reach out to you.
Yep. So you can get me the habits. Everything is the habits of happiness. So it's the habits of happiness .co.uk. And then on Facebook, you can get me under the same, or you can come over to my main page, which is just under Samantha Jane. On Instagram, it's the Habits of Happiness. And I do have a program. So I do have a journal, which is on Amazon called Start Your Day in a Positive Way. I do have a free group, which is Happy You, Happy Life. And I also have a program which goes more into the science. And also I do have a one-to-one, which goes into working more with the subconscious. And if you have stress and anxiety and you need more, then I do have that too.
Amazing. You do a very important and great job, Samantha. I really admire you, and I think many people will have a lot of help with this. Turn to your programs, because many people are burned out. Many people are living lives that are not theirs, and they are living with self-destruction, right? Many people have thought that just self-destruct them. So it will be really, everybody should look up to this, because I think it's great what you're doing, and go on with it. So thank you again for your wisdom and happiness tips and your positivity. And you are really a great person with that really know how to cultivate true happiness, and it's really inspiring. So thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you so much. And if there's one thing I want to leave your listeners with is, it may be simple, but please be kind and compassionate to yourself, because wherever you are in your journey in this life, and if you are feeling stressed, I can tell you being hard on yourself is only going to make it worse. So if one thing you can do is be kind and compassionate to yourself while you're going through this journey, that's my one piece of advice.
Thank you for sharing, Samantha. And to everybody who's listening, I hope her words encourage you to really take action here, because the habits shape your life, right? And
Yep.
who don't want to have a positive life? So it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Shifting your mindset, embracing new habits. So thank you for that. For you listening now, if this episode resonates with you, I encourage you to perhaps share with someone that needs to hear this as well. I think many do in this life, and as always, I thank you for being here, and keep on growing and healing and thriving together, right? So
Yes.
thank you again, and please subscribe if you want to listen to more of these episodes. And until next time, and take care of yourself, nurture the habits that brings you joy, and remember, true happiness starts from within. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, bye for now.
So in order for the best results that I've seen is somewhere around the 90-day mark, if they're committed and they're doing all of the exercises. And the reason why 90 days is science says it takes 60 to 254 days to create a habit in the brain. And a habit is a new network of brain cells that have grown and strengthened to make that habit automatic. And so some people, quite honestly, do take longer, closer to, 120 days or 150 days. But it's putting all of the tools together bit by bit, piece by piece, with the knowledge. When you have the knowledge, you also have to build the experience and the skills. And when you combine the two, skills and knowledge together, then suddenly you're on the right track. And it's also about eliminating bad thinking patterns, bad behaviors, and bad habits as well.
Yeah.
It's equally as important, which most people overlook.
How do we adapt to that and be
So-
part of it? Because do we harmonize ourselves, or do we get into it? Do we like to have some kind of calm in it, because we have to be part of it? It's
Mhm.
there. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of human resilience in that case?
So I would say that I'm 47. So I went to high school when there was no internet or beginning of internet. You can do
Yeah.
a library book. I went to college and I graduated college in 2000. And you could look up the internet, you can see some picture, but the internet wasn't the internet yet. So there was no internet, and then there was internet. Everything's connected. Now we've had 20 something years plus, but really 2000-ish to now. So let's just say a meaningful 2 decades where computers have built huge database. The computational power is so big, and the internet was a tool. Now you can let the tool use you, or you can use the tool. Most people had the tool use them. They volunteered information.
They didn't know about it. They
Right,
didn't think
they
about
didn't
it that
know.
way. No.
Well, just like they say, if it's free, the product is you. All these services, Facetune, the product was you. The Instagram, the product is you. YouTube, the product is you. All our stuff that we like to see ourselves, we're not newsworthy, right? Michael Jordan has never taken a selfie in his life because he's newsworthy. He goes out, he does his job, and he's in the newspaper. But magically, we have such big egos that we need to have our own little social media. We're not newsworthy or media worthy unless we go invent something cool, or we're important to our mom, we're important to our dad or our husband or our wife or whatever. We're important to our kids, but we're not important. There's only this much. But what this did is made us all feel important. So we volunteer all this information, and now the tool is using us to go and sell you back the black shirts that we have, or maybe you have better hair care products than I do, right? So
I might have that. I guess it is that way,
right? So it's giving us back what we asked for. So the tool is using us. Now I can say that there's plenty of people that they do use AI as a tool. Now, a tool could be, I want to do iterative design. So I have a really good idea at work, whatever you do for a living. And I can come up and generate ideas quicker. I don't have to write the whole thing out. I can get to the point and I can expand and contract it. But it's only as good as my prompt. So what I'm telling the tool to do. So if I don't ask it a good question, it doesn't give me a good answer. And if I constantly am looking at, we'll say the bad stuff, you define whatever you think's good and bad, but we'll say the bad stuff.
Yeah.
What's it doing for us? Now, if I go in and I prompt it and I give it good input, it gives me good output. If I give it useful stuff, it gives me useful. So if I just say, write my report, I know what every kid's doing cheating in school. I know that came off of ChatGPT. I know everybody who wants to be an influencer. Well, what are you really influencing if every kid has the same hammer, nail, and saw, and you don't know how to use it? It doesn't make you a carpenter. It's a tool, right? So if I look at, for example, yesterday, I was with who I consider to be one of the top surgeons in the world, and U.S. News and World Report had this person as one of the top. What they were able to do is watch the surgeries that they do more often and see when they do great and learn from what they did great. And the stuff that the data showed that it wasn't as good or wasn't at their median, and tell them where it was off. So they fed them film, they fed them patient outcomes, and they're able to learn quicker, faster, better. There's teachers who can put stuff out and see how it's received by the students and run back test. The last 5 years I gave this test, the kids were like this, they got jobs here. The ones that I taught this way became better students. Now at the exact same time, there's people trying to make up imaginary boyfriends and girlfriends. There's people trying to do bad things. So they're using the tool for bad things. Also, there's plenty of people who are just average at work and they get this little thing and they chat GPT everything. So a long time ago, it was you used to have to count on your fingers. Then it was you were calculator dependent.
Oh, you have that there. Okay, that's amazing.
I'm a nerd. Of course I have it.
Okay, of course,
I got I mean, if you really want to know if you're on with a nerd, I got one of these too. Okay.
Oh my God! Wow, that's
So the nerds, us as nerds, we have this stuff here already.
Yeah, I can imagine when you're in cybersecurity, you have to have those stuff. Okay, yeah.
So you count on your fingers, and you weren't good at math. Then you were calculator dependent because you couldn't do the math. Now, how many times have we been at dinner or anywhere with someone or lunch, and you ask a question, and everyone's sitting there going, because they're just Googling what their opinion should be, whether it's true or not. We don't know.
They can't anymore. Yeah.
They Google fact check you. There's always that one guy or gal that you hate that when you say I'm wearing red and they go, actually it's crimson number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I Googled it. Right? Well, now what's everyone doing? ChatGPT, la la la. So you went from counting on your fingers to calculator dependent to Googling everything, Google fact checker, so you can be the enlightened one and virtue signal in the room. Now it's ChatGPT, right?
And what is next then? Because we are getting more and more, less and less personal then. We get more stupid. Or what? We don't need to think anymore, right?
No, so people run business. People run businesses, and adults run their families. The most meaningful thing you've ever done had no electricity, maybe the lights or something, but it was like this. It was in person. It wasn't like this. This is good technology, but it was in person. The most important deal you've ever closed was not on a Zoom call and was not by text or a meeting. If you go and make decisions at a company we heard of, it was done face to face. It's done with the handshake. So ultimately, it's this. So we are as connected as we've ever been. We have the best tools. You're on the other side of the planet right now, and we're having an interview, conversation, high def, all the fancy stuff. So we're using a tool to do that. But we choose not to do that. When I come home, this is off.
That's good.
There's nothing on. I turn it off because I don't need this to play with my beautiful daughter, Anna Capri. I don't need this to go play baseball, Benjamin. I don't need this to talk with my friends. I need it to do work. But I'll say you on this, no text. I check email 2 times a day. I don't let the tool use me. I use the tool. Same thing with AI. I can do iterative thought, iterative design. I can ask meaningful questions and do better research. I can understand your perspective or perspectives better prior to an interview, maybe learn about your culture. I can use these tools for great. Or I can just make it be my new Google, my new calculator, or my new fingers. So this is our choice on how we use the tool. It's also our choice on how much we use the tool and how dependent we are. Because if little kids see mommy doing this all day, right?
Yeah, of course they do the same.
They do the same. And then if they see dad doing this all day and then doing this all day, and they see mom and dad doing this all day, or
it's horrible.
doing doing
That's
this
not
all
good.
day, they're going to mimic us. So that's our choice. What are we doing with these tools? They're great tools, but are we doing the right things with them?
Yeah, and I can tell you something because here in Sweden, I live in Sweden, and we have a lot in the news right now about the development that younger children are saying no to the telephone, mobile phone, because they have too much information. So I think
That's
that
right.
development for hopefully next generation is like, oh, I don't want that. It's like information overload.
I believe that they do, because my son, who's 10, said, and he said it a funny way when he was little. He said, I want to invent a phone breaker so people don't go like this all day.
No.
And what he sees is when daddy, this isn't a phone, this is a computer. The important people, see?
Yeah, that one,
Right?
I would like to have that one again. That's better. Yeah.
Nokia, right? $50.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's a phone. We talk on it. Wow. So would you imagine that a person that has one of these has this off, and if someone needs to talk to me, this is $50, right?
You are such a role model. This is really amazing because this people need to hear. I hope that it's a development that really gonna be that way.
And I'm in tech, so I should be with all this fancy stuff.
Yeah, but you perhaps you have so much information. I mean, people that are like me. I'm sitting a lot in the computer, but I also have the mobile phone as a tool as well. But it's so much stuff there on that you have to use it. But then I guess perhaps the younger generation now do what you do. Buy no smartphones. Stop the smartphones.
Well, the smartphones aren't smart. The people are dumb, and the phone is now their brain.
Yeah, but if you talk more about this, about like with AI, how it rises and everything, also, of course, it has to do the digitalization and mobile phone also. But I'm just curious because people are like when we talk about uncertainty in future regarding this. You told me about this. There's a lot of positive things you can use with AI.
Mm-hmm.
But people say, okay, what about the jobs? What about the privacy? But what about the sense of identity? You know, people get stuck in that focus when you talk about AI. Yeah. And then I want to go into this about trust. That what is the future of trust?
I want to talk about the job stuff. So I'm going to use America as an example, but there's an equivalent everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, please do.
not too long ago, when you went to school, college, like my parents' generation, you had to be smart to get into school. And college wasn't for everybody. We go K through 12 here, high school's 9 to 12, and then there's college. College has turned into 13th grade. 13th grade. Everybody needs to go to college. Well, now everyone goes to college because that generation, the boomers, said, we got to go to college, you can't get a job. So all the skilled trades went away. So now in America, who were very much a manufacturing powerhouse for a lot of industries, you can go to school for 6 years and get an engineering degree, and you come out and you make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to be an engineer. Very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But there's no welder, and there's no machinist, and there's no truck driver. And the truck drivers make $100,000. The welders make $80,000 to $120,000, and the machinist who gets an apprenticeship makes $80,000 on a 40-hour work week. They also make more than some doctors. So when you get too much of this, the skill stuff goes away. Now you're seeing, when I'm good at this and all this, what are my skills? I hope that I don't have 5 years of only being able to do math with one of these. But if you ask me what 2 + 2 is, I have to go. And that's what we've become at work. Make the presentation. Well, ChatGPT, the sales pitch that's persuasive for a person in a red jacket. Well, I learned nothing about you. So now, what is your actual skill and what's your value if this can beat you at everything? If everybody has one of these and you can beat an unskilled, what is your real skill? Is your skill listening? Is it talking? Are you a great artist? Are you good with your hands? Are you actually smart? Or did you just go to college? And you know you can't do anything without a computer. Can you get sticky notes? This is my day. Playing with sticky notes, making process flows. Can you do a sketch? Some people can do a sketch, right? Some people start out with pencil and paper, okay? Some people start out with markers. Some people...
Yeah, but where does that go, do you think? It's going to go back to that? Or is it something that... Because I believe that it's going to be like an overload of information that people get tired of this.
Well, they're tired of it, but there's a double-edged sword now. Because if you don't use OpenAI, DeepSeek, Gronk, if you don't use it, I have a competitive advantage over you because I have access to so much information. And if my skill is asking real high-quality questions to generate really good prompts, prompt engineering, I can be an AI master and not even go to school. I just got to be like a little kid and go, why? And it can write code for you. But that's still not your skill. Because when they turn the electric off, are we just a bunch of idiots with cell phones? No. But I will say in the last 10, 15 years, finance, maybe. Service industry, robots have replaced CSRs. So where you don't have a high skill that can't be learned by a computer, you better be skilled. Engineers will always have a job because they have to make it work, right? Doctors will always have a job. Business people, let's say finance. What are you good at? Relationship management? Well, then good. You can build relationships and then it'll go on the computer. If you're selling stuff, I still have to be able to be persuasive or informative. If I'm an educator, I still have to be able to get a bunch of totally different people and read body language. So the core part, people who build things, people who make things, people who mine things, people who move things, people that create food, that stuff will never change.
No.
The actual job and the skills that make life go around will never change. It's these tools and how we use them. So if we've been programmed, no pun intended, to be a bunch of computer monkeys at work, not allowed to think, not allowed to question, and then the system won't let us, and now it's just backstab and politic and kiss up and kick down, and we're all calculator dependent, that's a bad direction. So how do we choose to engage? Do we choose to keep our secrets to ourselves? Do we choose to be the ChatGPT wizard in our little office and not share it and make us look like we're so brilliant? Or do we share with the rest of our team, hey, I see you did this. I would have researched this before. I get it over here. I use a tool to do this. And now instead of doing a saw, now I would say the AI is just an electric saw, right? So you don't have a guy going like this to saw down a tree. They have a saw. So all the AI really is instead of hand tools, you now have mechanical tools. That's how I would explain that to anybody.
Yeah, interesting, because I think that if we could talk about the jobs and everything, people are scared about what you're telling me. It's about the human abilities and the characteristics and personalities that they never go away. And AI is there as a tool, and we have to have our skills still, of course. I would like to ask a little bit about, if we talk about AI again, and a bit like how we see it. There's so much more than ChatGPT, of course. But it's somewhere it will anyway have some kind of decision-making control over us, right? Because this is programmed and this is developed in a certain way. How do you think that will, do you think we have some kind of, how do we change that? Or do we want to live like that? Or is it something that we need to, because if we don't like this digitalization, if we don't like all the information overload, and we don't like to get answers quickly, we would like to have it as usual, as we did before, right? So how do we claim that control? Do you think we can do that?
100%. I would say that, and I'm going to go in a couple directions, and this is going to make people's heart beat a little faster or hold breath or whatever, but I'll use the States. I travel the world, and the US has 50 states. It might as well be like 50 countries, because if you talk like this, you're down in Texas, and somebody in New York don't understand you. And in California, bro, we got the surfer, bro. So it's like we got all different countries. And what Europe doesn't understand is the size of the United States. And it's not like when you're in the UK and they go UK versus US or France, or we could fit 5 UKs in Texas. We could fit 20 Frances and not 20, but 20 Frances in California, right? So they don't understand the magnitude. So now I go like this. What just happened here? We had the media tell a story, and it was delivered to us on this, and it got us in emotional land. And we had a certain leader, and they really didn't like what happened. And then there were systems that may or may not have cheated. But when somebody is that convincing and put up that much results, and the people liked them that much, they overcame all the manipulation. And so I would say, if you got the most popular votes in recorded history, you won the Electoral College, and you won every swing state, and you had the system against you and the media and the manipulated stuff and and you still won, you can't be too bad. But now, and in US, they're all happy. And that's what they voted for. Now, since that happened, I've been to 3 or 4 or 5 countries in Europe since that happened. He's the Antichrist. It's the end of the world. We're all going to die. Russia, China, US, blah, 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 blah. And what do they get it? Did you go there? No. Where do you get your news? Instagram? Okay, that's where you got your news. Instagram? Now, here, when we changed our government at the federal level, they say we don't need federal government. We'd rather have more state and local. So New York can operate like New York, and Texas can operate like Texas, and California, bro, can be, they can all have states' rights. So that's like EU versus individual countries. If I go to Sweden, Swede's not the same as Spain, is not the same as Italy, is not the same as the UK, is not the same as Serbia. They're all different.
Yeah.
So when we elect people that say, I don't like the spying, I don't like the privacy, I don't like the manipulation, it's up to us as humans, whether we take out the garbage or we are the top of the food chain, the people that we elect, because that's the one thing that we still do as people. We still go in and say, you or the other person. And as long as we're not listening to this thing and we're not voting on social wedge issues or what our girlfriend thinks we're going to do at the luncheon or something, those goofballs don't get to manipulate the system anymore. They don't get to put their thumb on the scale. So if you're afraid of AI, not you, but if someone's afraid of AI, really what they're afraid of is their local, state, or federal government putting their thumb on the scale. No freedom. So there are countries in the world that the government controls everything. You can use a certain country that left the European Union and see how it's going right now. They don't run the world anymore, and they lost their way perhaps, and they're also not the powerhouse. Too much regulations, too much bureaucracy, and they don't make anything, they don't mine anything, they don't contribute to technology. You have people from everywhere else coming there, and they said, hey, country that starts with an R, we don't like you. But US, we don't like you either. So they've become, they don't like the country that starts with an R or the country that starts with the U, and they're about this big, and they have exactly no military, and they want to go send people to war. So you see another perspective. Now, the people there will say, you're wrong, you're a wanka, blah, blah, blah. Okay, why? Is that your opinion, or did social media tell you that? Did the news that's manipulated by your government tell you that? Did you go to your echo chamber that you built on products you like with people that you resonate with, and all you're getting back is a mirror image of what you like, because their job, the tech company's job, is to keep you on this app as long as possible to extract you. So that's a choice. Do I want to use the tool, or do I want the tool to use me? Because the governments, big or small, local, state, federal, or city, country, EU, or whatever it is, do you want them to use these tools against you? Vote the right people in and choose what you put and don't put, and choose how you use a tool and don't use a tool, and vote on laws that enable you freedom and don't have all these restrictions and bureaucracies. And you see a lot of countries right now that went, just like you said, tech went too far this way, now it's going this way. Well, in politics or governments, you're seeing countries over the last 5-10 years all the way this way, and now there's a lot of them that are going all the way that way, right? So that swing has happened. I really think if you're scared of AI, you either have no real skill or you're scared of your government, but you're not scared of the tool, because the hammer doesn't get up and hit you in the hand. The saw doesn't get up and cut you, right? AI doesn't get up and do anything to you. Now, people who want to do goofy things will use these tools to do stuff to you or to manipulate how you think and do. But so does Microsoft Excel. If you put in the wrong numbers, you get the wrong answer. If you don't type right, your presentation looks like crap. If you dress with your shirt turned on backwards, right, that's your fault, right? So how we use these tools is what matters. And when I hear people are scared of AI, they either are scared that they're not as special as they've told themselves that they are, or unique, and they're just regular. Here's a little hint. All of us are just regular. None of us have boats, airplanes, jets, Lambos, 50 Birkin bags. All that stuff's pretend. And if you do have it, you're in the 1% of all people walking Earth. We can't have half of us be in the 1%. But what does social media do? Every woman has a $20,000 purse. That doesn't make sense. Every girl in college now has a Louis Vuitton bag, $4,000 bag. My car cost $1,000 when I got out of college. And there's kids walking around with $4,000 bags. There's guys that have $50,000, $100,000 watches and they still have credit card debt. It doesn't make sense.
No, that's
But
not
what
good.
is that? That's us
Yeah.
being used.
Yeah, and I think if we go back to what you said also earlier, because we talk about organizations and government and everything about trust. If we put it on a more, because I have a question that I just came up with, because it has to do with, we talk about trust, and if we talk about trust, we think about AI, and okay, do we know if it's something that can manipulate the system? Do we know that we're talking to our loved ones, or when we are somebody's calling us, or I mean those kinds of developments? That is what I think people are really scared about. Do we trust the system that much? Because perhaps you feel that, okay, I think I'm talking to my loved one here, my dear friend, or actually it's an AI that just.
How do I know right now that you're not talking to a robot and I'm not talking to a robot? We don't know, right?
No.
I could actually be a robot.
That's something
and have a
I think many
sprocket
people are
fly out of my
scared
head
about.
right now.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is something that many people think about. That is what the trust is about on a personal level. What do you think? What do you say to those people?
So at one point in time, none of this is original thought. We've seen this with everything. Somebody invented a car and then someone made a better car. Somebody made AOL.com and Yahoo for search, and now it's Google. Somebody made OpenAI, and then China does DeepSeek. But then Elon Musk does Grok. There's 3 big AIs that are free out there right now, right? So there's always, you did it first. Now someone leapfrogged and did it again, and someone did this. If I don't like OpenAI, maybe I go use Grok. If I don't like Grok, maybe I go make a new and different one. Ultimately, people aren't on MySpace anymore. They went to Facebook, and then people got done with Facebook and they went to Instagram. There's going to be something new next year or the following year, right?
Yeah.
So I think with AI, if we don't like what's going on with it, it's real easy. You turn off the app. It's real easy. You don't use it. And if you don't use it, they can't get information from you and they don't have you. So if you choose to not engage with what you know is wrong or goofy or just don't like, turn it off.
Yeah, that's a good advice. And then you think, okay, we have to. Welcome back to Stress and Purpose in Life podcast. I'm your host, Stina, and today we're going to dive into a crucial and very important conversation as the intersection of technology and human development and sustainability. As biodiversity, also AI, and digitalization is something that is rapidly shaping our world right now, right? And we need to ensure that we also grow in the same direction. So to do that, we're going to explore an amazing inner development goals. I'm here joined by this brilliant Jacob Trollbeck, who is the visionary designer and communicator and the mindset behind the visual language of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and also now the inner development goals. So I'm so grateful to have you here on the show, Jacob. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here.
So you're literally the mind behind the UN SDGs and the Agenda 2030s language.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. It's funny because someone asked me a question about the origin of the goal 5 gender equality icon the other day, and I had to dive down because it's actually now 10 years since we did this. But we were very fortunate to be in a position where we got a request if we could help to take this it's sort of boring and academic framework and make it into something that everyone could understand and get engaged behind. So yeah.
And now all people all around the globe knows this Agenda 2030 and those those goals, right? It's something that is really understood by many now, and it's amazing to talk to you, and you're the creator of this. So amazing to have you on the show, really.
Thank you. I always have to mention my partner, Christina Rigg-Gressley, who did a huge majority of all the design behind it, and it's very much her visual vision that's behind it. So it was not only me. We were basically we were two people working on it. So
yeah, of course. Then anyway, it was you as half of the people in the show on this. So very nice to have you here. Can you start? Is there something that you want to start by introducing yourself more about for the audience, because we know you for the sustainable development goals, right? But you have a very interesting background, I think. Also, can you explain how you came to become the person that you are, right, based on this emphasis on sustainability?
Yeah, I had. I'm from Sweden. I was very briefly, I can say that I had a record store and I was a DJ in Stockholm, and then we started a club, and I was starting to do flyers, invitations for the club, and decided that I wanted to be a designer, and moved to New York and got a job at a company working with motion graphics, meaning we did a lot of film titles, we did graphics for TV commercials and things like that. And when I started my own company in 99, I was getting a little bit tired of all the noise in marketing and advertising in America. I guess in the world, but in America in particular. So I came up with this motto, which was discard everything that means nothing, and that became sort of the beginning of a journey to find the true meaning behind things. And with that philosophy behind our design, we became quickly very good at doing branding for a variety of clients, and we worked with a lot of clients, mostly all of the American TV networks like HBO and CBS and things like that, and then we did a job for the BBC, a pretty big job, and that led to a connection that just by happenstance, a man, Richard Curtis, came to my office and he wanted help with the project, and we hit it off very well. And then he said at the end of the meeting, if you're interested, I have a crazy idea, which is the UN are going to release these goals in a year, and I think they're going to fail if we can't make them popular in some way. And do you want to help with that? So that was like a fast forward through how I came to work with sustainability. And I think that also at that point in my life, we had worked with almost every client that I wanted. We had worked with Apple, which was a huge thing for me because I feel like my whole creative career I owe to the Macintosh, which was sort of my tool when I learned to design, and also that I was later when I started to write. So and I felt that I had sort of reached the top of, there were no more clients that I felt I wanted to, like I wasn't hungry for that, but to work with communication and make people find some kind of sense in very complex situations and find what's meaningful and what matters. That became the driving force, and for me. So I worked with that for a while, and then because I realized I had to work with companies to because the NGOs that contacted me, they didn't have any money, and I had to pay salaries. So I decided that I had to work with companies, and that Stockholm was a better place for that than America. So that's when I started the new division, and so that agency is now, I think, 8 years old, and we are only working with different variations of social and environmental sustainability.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm interested, before we start with that, we talked a lot about biodiversity and the changing environment that we live in, right? And how do you think we can connect to that with, how do we develop that with creating this sustainable mindset that we need? I mean, for those people that are not familiar with this inner development goals, can you briefly explain what it is and how it is connected to this changing environment that we live in today?
Yeah, I think that there's actually three different. We've been, after we had worked with the global goals, the SDGs, for a few years, and we thought that they were so clear and obvious, and we were just sitting back and waiting for change to happen, and it seemed like nothing happened really. So we started to think about what drives change, and it took all too long, I think, to understand a very simple fact that it's like, who's driving this car, and like that it all comes down to us. And we met with some great people. Eric Fernholm was the first connection, and we started to talk to him about our inner skills, how they are driving things forward, and what we need. Because it's like with I think that there's a fundamental misunderstanding about well, for a long time it's been like, well, you're supposed to do what society says, and you're supposed to behave that way, and it doesn't matter what's happening on the inside, and if you disagree, there's probably something that's wrong with you. And instead open up the way that we relate to ourselves and our thoughts. And it's I mean, if you would create a machine of some kind, you would really be interested in knowing exactly how it works. And of course, it's enormously interesting to think about our behavior and what's driving that. So we decided that we would use the connection of sort of driving forces, and we did a survey that in the end, I think about 2,000 people answered, and it was people who worked with leadership, with personal development, people working with mental health. There were like all kinds of people who answered a very simple question, which was, what skills, capacities, and qualities do we need as individuals and as a group to be able to reach the SDGs?
Yeah.
So that was the foundation for that. And then I think later, when we started to work with it, we realized that it wasn't actually limited to like being driving forces for the SDGs. It was really what's running our lives.
Yeah, we have to change that mindset also to follow the sustainable development goals, right? So, and I understood that this IDGs emphasize a lot of self-awareness and compassion and collaboration, right? It has to do with those, it's like 5 principles of being, thinking, collaborating, and acting, right? So, and that is something holistic and very it's something that we all have to do, think about, depending on. It doesn't have to do just to do with the sustainability mindset. It has to do with the way of life, but the way of life changes now rapidly based on this environment, the focus on sustainable development goals, right? So how do you see that help us to navigate in helping us to really create a better world and to change this way of living that we do?
I mean, I think there's so many interesting aspects, and I'm sure we're going to talk about biodiversity in a little bit, because that's sort of the missing piece of the puzzle. But I think that one thing that I've been thinking about lately is, I remember many years ago when I learned about medicines, that all medicines that work only works because there's a receptor for them in the human body. So it's medicines are really a way. It's not a way to introduce something new to the body. It's a way to enhance the body's function, to enhance the way that these cells work, or these. So it's a system that we're part of, and we're using, the tools that we have in ourselves. And I think that when it comes to inner development, it's like we're walking around with all of these different capacities. And none of us are saying that the IDGs are complete or covering every aspect of it, because it is a framework under development. But all of a sudden, if you start to look at these different skills or capacities or qualities, you can see well, first of all, if you look at them, and there are 23, 24 of them now. There's actually 23. I'm saying 24 because there's definitely a new one coming in. But if you're looking at them at the list, I think you would be hard pressed to find a person who's not like, yep, that's great, I want all of those. So they're very positive skills. And the thing is that we just need to practice them. Right? You need to practice everything. You need to practice to have humility. You need to practice trust. You need to practice critical thinking. You need to practice, especially some people need to practice to have an open mindset. You can just tick off these skills and realize that this is something that we all have to work on. And if we don't do that, we're not going to be our best selves. We're just going to have all of these capacities that we're not gonna use, and that would be, it would be like I don't know. I feel like I want to make some parallel with when you realize that you rented a house in the mountains for a week, and then when you got back, someone said, "How did you like the sauna?" And you like, it had a sauna. It's like there's so much in life, and there's so much within us that I think it would be cool if we would just be a little bit open to explore all of these different pathways that we can take, and all the ways that we can use them to like take charge over our relationships, and think about, like, what is it that happened when you get angry, or when someone pushes a button, or when someone makes you feel small, or when someone makes you feel great. What's actually happening there? And so I love it. I just love the inner development goals. I think that they're just a fantastic tool, and they have helped me so much.
Yeah, I think it's something that we humans really need now. I've also digged into it a little bit, and it's really amazing because has a lot to do with the inner development that shape also the external environment, right? So, and if you truly master these skills, how do you think that will influence our way of living more sustainable, both in business and in private life?
I mean, obviously it would be great, but I also don't think that you can master them. I think that there are, I think there are things that you can get better at. I think you can look at them and set up, an aspiration to become better at. You can, if you look at them, you can clearly see very quickly what you don't have issues with. There may be skills that you feel like, yeah, I'm really good at complexity awareness, or I'm really good at having an open mind or something, but I'm not that good at trusting people. So I think that it can help us to think about what we could probably be better at. So
it's a good reminder to continue improvement, right? Because
yeah,
I have an idea about that as well, because I did a pillar theory, which was also 8 kind of pillars of inner development, and it also quite resonates with this, because you are not good at everything. It's like a life compass. You can give us a grade to, okay, today I'm a 5 but tomorrow I can be 4, and it's really it's a continuous improvement, and it's really good to have some kind of framework for that also resonate with the living a sustainable life. So I really I admire that, and I think it's so important both in private life and in business that people use this. And I understood that the people are already, you have some kind of method for this, that you have it implemented also in businesses or in your own business. You said something about that earlier, that you have some kind of way of working with it yourself.
Well,
share.
In the beginning, before I knew all of the skills by heart, I always had them open in a document, and whenever I was in a situation that wasn't familiar with me, or if I had to write a difficult email to a client or something, I wrote the email and then I looked at it and I was like, okay, do I have the right amount of humility here? Do I show appreciation? Do I how can I frame this in a way? And it's not framing things in a way that, oh, I will get things my way. It's framing things so the message goes through. And I think that we all, most of us have, also in relationships with family and friends, we have people that we can't really get through to. And it's really good to see that, okay, what would happen if I showed more empathy, if I had more compassion, or how can I build presence in this situation, like whatever it is that's missing. And I think that I know that we're probably getting off topic a little bit here, but I feel like most conflicts between people, I mean, there are conflicts between people that can go on for a lifetime, and there are people, they can be family members that try and they always have the same result, but they always try in the same way, and it's like, that you're pushing each other's buttons, and then you just have to ask yourself, what would it be like if you think that another person did you wrong, to just say, okay, I'm going to just take a deep breath and start to thinking about what caused this situation, what made this person behave that way. So it's a map of just understanding why we react the way we do, anyway, I love it.
Yeah. But how about that relationship with the inner development goals, and we go to talk about biodiversity now. How do you see the relationship between those two?
Yeah,
How
that has
do they
been
influence each other?
yeah, that has been a huge journey for me because
Yeah.
when we did the SDGs, obviously goal 14 and 15 are about biodiversity, life below water and life on land. So I knew that biodiversity was important, but also I'm a city person. I lived in New York for 30 years, and yeah, we went out to the beach in the summers, but when I grew up in Sweden, I lived in a suburb, and you were never really that close to nature, and you were never really dependent on nature. So for me, it had been a little bit like, yeah, I guess it's good that we have it, right? And then about 2 years ago, when we started to work with the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, because it was just released, and I looked at it and I said, "Oh man, this needs a makeover." So I wrote some emails and made some phone calls and got in touch with the right people, and we had a meeting. And I said, "Well, the SDGs were pretty successful. Can we do something similar with the biodiversity framework?" And they were very happy, and we started to work on that. And that has been a huge journey for me, because it's like the more you're working on it, you're making the most important observation is that we are biodiversity. And it's incredible that we have distanced ourselves so much from biodiversity. So it seems like we've forgotten that this planet, this nature, it's our birthplace. It's our our mother, our fathers. It's like it's all in biodiversity. And indigenous peoples and local communities, they have a much tighter connection, and they understand where we're from. And it's, when you're just are plopped down at a hospital in a city and you grow up in a city, you're not necessarily going to get that connection, and it's not going to be an obvious part of your life that we're not, first, that you are biodiversity. And the second thing is that we're not the masters of this. We're just the latest child of biodiversity. And we may be amazing, and I think human beings are just completely incredible, but we also have a responsibility, because nature isn't there for us. It's we're part of it. And nature, human beings have things that they do in ecosystems that are beneficial for ecosystems. But if we disappeared, everything would go on as usual, mostly, or better in this, today.
Yeah.
So the humility that comes with realizing that, oh, these are not our plants, and I think that also a lot came when I started to read Robin Wall Kimmerer. She has a fantastic, beautiful book called Braiding Sweetgrass. And she's talking a lot about how we have objectified nature. But nature is something that's alive. It's not objects. And we have on our little biodiversity plan book that we've done, there's a short quote from her that I would love to read.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
As human beings, we are part of the web of life. not its masters. Our role is to care for the diversity of life forms on Earth, to be in relationships with them, and to recognize their value beyond our use.
That's beautiful.
And there's so much love in it, right?
The respect to the nature.
Yeah,
that's so important. Yeah, wonderful.
So that
so how
then,
do you,
that then connect directly to the being category or the being dimension of the inner development goals, because we're talking about an inner compass. We're talking about integrity, authenticity. We're talking about openness, learning mindset, which is, nature has always been, biodiversity has always been a laboratorium for experiments and trying like a creative laboratory. All evolution is just built on like, let's try this. Well, that didn't work. Let's try this. Like it's also creative, and our being dimension is, of course, the fact that we're part of this. And so that has been, I think, a lot about this, and I think that there's more and more awareness. There are the people who, the movement of touching grass, like, make sure that you can touch grass every day. And I think it's just about finding environment where we feel good.
And how do you see both, if we go on to talking about, I'm not going to dig deep into this, but just we are standing against paradigm shift, right? And this has to also do with AI and all the disconnected to nature, things that we get disconnected by, right? And how do you see then that these inner development goals can help us in that ever-changing environment that has to do with digitalization, and also is it vice versa from biodiversity, because that's something to do with nature, and AI and digitalization keeps us somewhat away from that. How do you see the inner development goals having an impact there?
Yeah, I think that, the most interesting thing with AI is we sort of know what it is, but we don't know what's going to happen.
No.
And I think that there are many parts of, because I started my life as a tech nerd, so I love all of these, all of the evolution in technology. I think that I think we need to, in some way, think about what is AI and what is us. Because when you're talking about digitization, I think that we can say in general that that's a good thing. But at the same time, if the most prominent way that we're using digital media is doom scrolling and being depressed and not getting out of bed, then you have two different sides of it. And AI, I use AI every day. I use it when I write, when I do research, and to me it's just it's a gift. It's just amazing what it can do. And then I'm thinking that, okay, there are now you can just tell AI, I want the website, and they make a website. You can say, I want a hit song, and they make a hit song. And that's when I'm starting to think like, okay, what is the purpose of human beings in this?
Yeah.
Because, fortunately, AI is not very good at knowing what's good. When we worked on the biodiversity framework, we had to make 23 symbols, and there were one symbol that we were so stuck on, and I was like, okay, I'm going to see what AI can do. And I think I was sitting and prompting that AI for about 2-3 hours. And everything that came out was banal, ugly, and didn't have any inspiration. It hadn't made any of the connections that make good design, good symbols wonderful, right? Because it's always about making a leap, and coming up with an angle that excites people. And that, I mean, maybe AI is going to become good at, I mean, it's clearly going to become better at knowing what's good. But then the question is like, I don't know. I feel like there's so many dimensions of AI that, you know, the most positive interpretation I could think about is that when I'm looking at the work that we've done with the SDGs, with the inner development goals, and with biodiversity, the amazing thing is that now finally I'm starting to I have a certain amount of OCD, and I'm starting to feel like, oh, I can see they fit together. This is a puzzle. We're putting the pieces in the right place. And what it is more than anything is an equation where you're going for the most elegant solutions. That's what biodiversity has done for 3.5 billion years. And, you know, when humans get really into something, we create really elegant solutions, elegant and beautiful solutions. It may be design, or it may be equations, or it may be machines, or whatever it is. And we bumble around a little bit, but, you know, there's one point where this may be a bad example, but it's not exciting to buy a new iPhone anymore because it's good. It's like, you know, for the period of time that we're living, like, but going from an iPhone 15 to 16, that's like, okay, whatever, because they've just refined this product, so it's a miracle. And then what do? I mean, there's going to be new technology, and so I'm not saying that evolution stops there, but there are these plateaus of just elegance. So getting back to AI, I think that AI should also have the ability to see the mathematics about it, to see, well, this doesn't work because I have access to all of these sources, all of this information. And the result of this is that if you do it this way, it's a solid no, because you blow up the planet or whatever it is. And I think that also that's why, you know, all of these hopeless white men, Elon Musk and, you know, Mark Zuckerberg and all of these pathetic, anyway, that
We don't go
they,
into politics, but I understand what you're
I'm
coming
not
from.
talking about their politics. I'm just
No.
talking about the intelligence of not seeing things, because it is mathematics. And the thing is that when they're like all of a sudden, oh, AI has become woke, it's not woke. It's just saying that if you do this thing, there will be a problem. They're saying if we keep burning fossil fuel, the planet is going to be not so much fun to live at.
No.
And that's not a political point of view. And that's not being woke. That's not being anything other than you're being scientific. You're looking at the science, and then you're seeing what that goes to. So I think that AI can help us in this, because the wonder of AI is also what is a little bit scary with AI, is that we don't know how it does it. We just told AI, go and learn this. Go and figure this out, like you do with children. You can figure it out. And it did. And no one can go in and, like, I mean, people can change the prompts and change the parameters, but no one can go in and say, no, I want, you know, because it's what's happening in this black box of AI. And to me, that is where I'm putting my hope to, that it actually are going to find solutions that make sense mathematically. And biodiversity is nothing but the planet's oldest equation. So I want to marry them in some way, and then hope that they're not getting abused by, you know, people who wants to make money.
No, and I see that that resonates so with the importance of the inner development goals, because if you develop yourself as a human being and you become more, I mean, good for the planet, of course, the AI and the biodiversity, it gets a positive development because of it. But if you don't have that inner development goals to lean on, then you perhaps get lost in that world, because it's a rapid technology, it's a rapid development, and you have to be grounded, right? So what is the correlation there, do you think? How do you think this inner development goals will impact this development?
Yeah, I think that the awareness of the inner development goals, I mean, it's big. I mean, we have 700 hubs in countries all over the world, and we have, I mean, so many tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people who, but I don't think that it has had enough impact in media and society for it to be something that becomes part of the zeitgeist of AI. It's like, but it is part of the zeitgeist in society, I think, because I mean, we were talking about the world today a while ago, and I said, listen, I mean, I was a DJ. I've been at clubs and parties like all my life. And I know you get a terrible hangover after it. And I was thinking that, I mean, Earth, a very cool place, but if you look at the universe, we're like less than nothing. Or you know, it's just, you know, no one would care. So I was just thinking, so what if we destroy this planet? What if we like ruin biodiversity and make it so obviously we're not going to have anything to eat, and then we causing climate change, so it's going to be miserable to live anywhere. And I was like, well, good, then maybe, you know. And then I realized, but at a party you're having a good time, right? And right now we're ruining the climate and we're destroying biodiversity, and everyone's miserable. So this is, of course, the big allure of the inner development goals, because something's got to happen.
Yeah. Somebody told me, they said, like, a stressed planet, a stressed human. We are stressed out by the situation, and we have to do something about that. I will, if we look in the future and the bigger picture now, you're talking about the universe as a bigger picture, but if we imagine like a world where AI and biodiversity and inner development goals are fully aligned, and it's like harmony, you know, how would that look? What would the world look like if it was aligned with each other, do you think?
I mean,
but
I think it would be a wonderful world. I think that there are, you know, there are some forces in humankind that, I mean, we have these forces of you know, that comes from our ancestry, our survival instincts, that are causing us significant problems today. Because, you know, if you have I'm just thinking about, United States and China. I'm like, okay, you share the same problems. Why don't you sit down and figure out how to solve this? Figure out how trade is going to work. Figure out how this is going to be beneficial for everyone. But instead, they're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
And they're fighting, and I understand that you will fight for survival when there's scarcity, but there's such abundance, and that we can't stop fighting when there's abundance. Obviously, there's not abundance in the whole world, but if we're talking about these, if we talk about the global north, or like, and that to me is just a tragedy, that that we have societies, we have production methods, we have so much technology, so we basically could have a good time. We wouldn't have to worry about housing and food and things like that. But instead, we're just because there's always people, mostly men, who just wants it all. They just want to win, and it's like, you just won. Your ancestors didn't survive. They died when they were 18 or 23, or like, you're 65. You've survived. Why don't you enjoy this? Why do you have to keep on pretending like you have to win over what? Win over the planet now. So I think that however well you would align these frameworks, there's got to be an interchange, and in that interchange, we need to look at the world and ask ourselves, what created the beauty, what created the love. And we're talking about the limbic system and the frontal cortex, that created music, that created art, that created love, that created so much. Then we have this little engine of survival that is just, I want more, 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 more. I'm worried about my survival. Well, you don't have to worry about your survival. So I think that until we come to terms with this split operational directives, which is, we've everything that we have created, that mankind have created, we've created because we work together, and we build trust, and we have empathy and love. That's like the source for the civilization. That's why we can live good lives. And then we have this destructive force that wants to build nuclear weapons. It's like, and that is just a part of, I don't know, maybe Ozempic is gonna take care of that. I hope so, because it seems like it's like dampening a lot of our primitive needs and wants. But that's another story.
Yeah, but I agree totally with you, because that's the bigger picture, and the love that you're talking about is lost somewhere when you're in the decision making post. I think it has to do some kind of mind shift there in around humanity, and also business leaders. Do you have some kind of advice? I mean, you're talking now about love and how you can stay connected to nature, and also use these inner development goals in an ever-changing environment, and not get scared and flee for lions, right? As we did before. But what do you think about, what are your do you have some advice that you can give some of the leaders in the world that is based on inner development goals, and how they can apply them and to make us more better people, more positive and more loving people?
I mean, when the framework started to take shape, I said, oh, this should be like the entry test for all world leaders, all politicians. We should just elect people who have all of these skills, who have long-term thinking, who have complexity awareness, who have, humility and empathy, and have co-creation skills, have inclusive mindsets, intercultural competences. It's like the list is just like, how good it would be.
Oh my God, the world would be a very loving place to live on then.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not gonna happen. The problem is that the sad reality is that the people who are only interested in power are the ones that gets power. And we can talk about different peace movements and the Dalai Lama and Gandhi and very strong movements, but Martin Luther King, well, we can shoot him. I mean, that's there's we're playing in a game and against forces that I don't really know. But I can say that one thing that I saw a preview of a documentary that's called Confessions of a Swedish Man. And it's about a man who is confronting this whole male sort of testosterone driving anti-feminist movement. And the thing that I think that was the most interesting thing was that in the interview after the screening, he said that, because the question was, so you're sitting there and you're opening up to people who are extreme right, who are, who doesn't trust women, who are, very, very negative forces and very masculine. And he himself his movie before this was about feminism. So he's he's clearly not on that side.
No.
And what he said was that he found that when they sat down in these circles and opened up, when they all started to talk about their childhood, that's when they connected. And I think that we all have not the same trauma, but we all have most of us have experienced similar trauma in our lives, in growing up, and that has shaped us in different ways. And our reactions to these stressful, traumatic situations can be vastly different depending on who we are, our personality, but I think even more about the circumstances that we grew up in. If we grew up in a loving, supporting family, or in a family where your father was beating the shit out of your mother for dinner every day. I mean, it's like, but the trauma of just being a human being. I mean, we all have traumas, and if we can connect with that side, if we can just dare to be naked there and say, I don't know, I'm lost. Do you have an idea how I can get out of this? If we start doing that, I think that that's the best way to promote real solutions and remove the sledgehammer from the conversation.
I mean, we get tougher the older we get. It's a tough environment to live in, and then being vulnerable is very important. I agree with you, and I can imagine if you see the person from behind the mask, you know, the roles that you have, then you get to the core, and then you get open, then you open yourself to being more loving, I think. And I agree totally with that.
Yeah.
Is there something more that you would like to find in words for the viewers to reflect on regarding this, with so much important wisdom that we have regarding this subject that we can talk for hours? And is there something more that you would like to add that we have?
Yeah, probably, but I can't really figure out what I can just say that for me, I've found a lot of comfort in understanding how understanding the universe and the physical world, and I was always annoyed when I lived in America when someone said everything happens for a reason. And it could be a horrible thing that had happened. Someone had been left, or maybe even when someone died, some would say like, well, everything happens for a reason, which is, when we're back in the old time of believing that there's a God that controls everything that happens here. And I was so upset by this in some situation. And then I realized I could just move the words around a little bit. It's not that everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why everything happens. And if you start looking for the reason why everything happens, then your life becomes so interesting. And if you can dare to turn that onto yourself also, and you can be in a conversation and all of a sudden you get really irritated or frustrated, or maybe even raising your voice or whatever. And then afterwards to sit down and think, what happened there? Why was what triggered me? I mean, it's so, the curiosity that you can have around your own behaviors, I think is just immense. And I kind of learned that from a friend I had in America many years ago. She said something, and I or did something, I don't remember. I think she said something, and I told her, I was pretty harsh on her. I was like, you can't say that. And you can't and I thought that she would defend herself. And she said, oh, that's interesting that you think that. And I was just like, I wasn't expecting that response. And she said, yeah, I'm interested in knowing what's happening in my head and what's happening in your head. Why did this situation come up? And I was like, that is kick-ass. So look for, just be curious. And then I just realized that I do actually have one last thing that I want to say.
Yeah, please do. This was a great reminder for people what you just said about having your self-reflection.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, please.
Yeah. So my last thing I would say is that I think that sometimes Einstein has been quoted as the one saying that all decisions we make in life depends just on one question. It's not completely verified if he said it, but it's anyway. And the only question is if we believe that we live in a friendly or an unfriendly universe. And, if you're living in a friendly universe, then you build schools. And if you live in an unfriendly universe, you build prisons. If you're in a friendly universe, you build hospitals, you build parks. In an unfriendly universe, you build military, and and I think that that's a very cool thing to think about, very important thing to think about. But then I've had two thoughts of it. And the first thought was, of course we live in a friendly universe, because biodiversity is a gift to us. It's, it's just out there creating positive values all the time, all the food, all the material, all the beautiful sunsets, of course this is a good world. So that was the first, like, okay, I think I've solved that equation. And then my last insight, and I think that this is where I'm going with this, is that it's actually not right that it's predetermined if the universe is friendly or unfriendly. The truth about the universe is that it becomes what we think it is. So if you think the universe is friendly, what do? You trust people. You have conversations. You're starting to build connections. You're saying, of course you can borrow this. Or can you keep an eye on my bag while I'm going a block away? Or it doesn't matter what it is. And building trust should be, the most important thing that we can.
Welcome. This is a meditation called One Sense at a Time. First, open your eyes and look around you. Notice 3 different things. It could be the shape of a lamp, the color of a book, or the texture of a fabric. Observe each one carefully before moving to the next. Now, close your eyes. Shift your attention to your body. Identify 3 different sensations. Perhaps you notice the warmth of your hands, the feeling of your clothes against your skin, or a slight tension in your shoulders. Acknowledge these sensations without judgment. Next, listen. Identify 3 different sounds. It could be a distant hum of a fridge, birds singing outside, or even your own breath. Simply notice them without judgment. Now let's repeat this process, but with 2 things in each category. First, again, open your eyes and look around you. Notice 2 different things. It could be the shape of a lamp, the color of a book, or the texture of a fabric. Observe each one carefully before moving to the next. Now, close your eyes and shift your attention to your body. Identify 3 different sensations. Perhaps you notice the warmth of your hands, the feeling of your clothes against your skin, or a slight tension in your shoulders. Acknowledge these sensations without judgment. Next, listen. Identify 2 different sounds. It could be a distant hum of a fridge, birds singing outside. Simply notice them. Now let's repeat this process but with one thing. First, open your eyes and look around you. Notice one thing. It could be the shape of a lamp. Observe it carefully before moving to the next exercise. Now close your eyes. Shift your attention to your body. Identify one sensation in your body. Perhaps you notice the warmth of your hand. You notice the sensation without judgment. Next is listen. Identify one sound. It could be the distant hum of a fridge. Simply notice it without judgment. So I hope your mind feels clearer now and more focused. And have a great day and live with purpose.